Good morning, everybody, and this is your DAX day trade setup for today. So a bit of a crossover on the moving averages, sorry, not on the moving averages, but on the oscillators here, but we're still stuck in the middle of the moving averages. So for me, we're kind of bottom of range. There is a gap to the downside. I just want to put that on. We didn't quite get to the gap, and remember what I say, tail indicates that the gap is still open. I prefer to see a solid body. An example of that you can see here is a tail, which you would think closes the gap, and then you can see price came back down with there was another tail here, and then still came back down with a body close below that gap. So I always look for a body close of the gaps. All these gaps pretty much had a body close. Anyway, narrative is still the same as it has been for most of the year. We are in between these two levels, and it is 15,500 and 15,830. So we haven't really progressed out of that. We do have a fairly decent inside bar here that happened going into the close yesterday. My concern is that the moving averages are pretty flat. We are below them, and they're kind of pointing to the downside. The only bullish component of this is the fact that we're grouping the oscillators. Now, remember what I said about tails on a gap? There's my gap. We have not closed that gap. So I would expect another leg down onto this area here, 15,400, 15,414, and then keep in mind that you have this gap here. This trend line that we have here has pretty much not broken yet. Well, you can see the 3 touches of that. So this is actually a pretty simple setup to trade. Let me give it to you. So looking at the hour, and before we get into that, if you're still watching, drop us a like or a comment, or preferably both. It's a great way of helping me get to more people and grow the channel. So you can see the gap is open. The gap aligns with this trend line. You can see prices come back. It's tested this area, it's sort of come back to this area. I would expect another test of the area to give us another higher low. The reason for that is that we've had a series of lower lows. So I want to see price come back a little bit, somewhere in this area, and then move back up. It's a short-term target, to be honest. And I'm going to make it really messy just before I get down to the 15-minute, because this is kind of what you need to pay attention to. So you can see the oscillators in the 15 minutes are grouping. We are below the moving averages at the moment. So consolidating either for a break up or for a leg down. I'm for a leg down. Come and test this tail here. Let's get the fractal. The high there is 15,464. So come back, test 15,664. You've got a stop area below the low of yesterday, and you're looking for a break of the structure at that area to the upside. First target is going to be this breakout here, which is 15,585, which should line up with the 155 EMA. So basically, we're looking at a trade like that. It's a 60-point stop loss, and it's a 120-point gain. So that's a 2-to-1 trade. That is what I'm looking at the moment. And you can also see there's a bit of a trend line formed here. So that would come back to test that trend line break as well. That's kind of the structure. I don't think you're going to move much beyond that unless something dramatic happens, and that'll only happen when the Feds come out later tonight. That'll basically be a move to the upside. So that's kind of the moral of the story at the moment. I think this is a pretty strong area of support down here and a trend line. So if this low gets taken out from yesterday, then I suspect you have a couple of smaller gaps down to the downside, and then you've got this gap here. But that's also going to break a trend line, so I would expect that to move a little bit quicker to the downside. So that's kind of the structure that we're seeing at the moment. Pretty much last line in the sand here. If we don't hold this 15,400 area, then you're definitely heading down 15,300, 15,200. So that's kind of my view for today. Anyway, that's my view. 15-minute trades, so you need to be sitting at the charts for a bit, wait for the structure to open and see what happens. If it doesn't happen at the open, I would close the chart and wait for the US open and move to the US charts to see if there's some opportunity there later in the afternoon. Hope it helps, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow morning. Cheers for now.